I've I've done a thumbnail that makes it look like I'm shouting a lot for views, and I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be one of those. It's only going to be. It's only going to be discourse here. Discourse, takes. No shouting, no screaming, no shouting about Ange out and all that type of thing. I'm not doing any of that. Um, as much as there might be the temptation to, there's not really. Um, yeah. Where to even begin with that one? Mm, um, I don't know. I don't know. Just giving it a few more minutes for, well, like a minute or so for people to see the link, for it to be shared, and then I'll kick this off. But nice to get a breather. It seems like, with that. Let me do it. I'll tell you what. Let's just start. Beg your pardon. We're with that in the mud, with that irrelevant aside now, that they're not even they didn't even stick about on Sky Sports to speak to Ange Postecoglou after the game. They were just like, well, if you want to hear any more reaction from Tottenham's defeat to Everton, check it out on our social media or online platforms. Anyway, over to the next game. I know they probably do that on Super Sunday a bit, but it still does kind of give you an idea of where we're at, doesn't it? I don't know where to begin today. I don't know. I took a few minutes to have a bit of a breather, to compose myself, because I don't just want to come on here and rant and rave, like in an outwardly emotional fashion like that, because I don't. That stuff doesn't age well. Number one, and I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to Yeah, I'll do that in the swing of a game, as we all do. And like, I'm not trying to act like I'm above all that when I do this, but if somebody watches this on a Tuesday and there's a grown man sat here shouting and screaming into his microphone, nobody wants to see that. Do you know what I mean? Well, I mean, rival fans want to see that, don't they? But right now, it's just about, I don't know. It's not about like trying to find any answers to anything, is it? I don't have any answers to any of this. I doubt anybody here listening has any answers to what's going on at Spurs right now. We all have our own sort of idea as to what we'd like to see or what we think is going on. But let's be real, none of us have the answer. Because I can sit here and say, Postecoglou's got to go tonight. He's got to go tonight. Get rid of him. Sack him. Don't even let him on the bus home. But the reality is, what happens? What happens if? Because look, I'll say up front, watching that game, it just looks clueless. My top line takes on this when I watched that game today is that I know he's been very unlucky with injuries, and we can talk about how responsible he is or not for those injuries, sure, but that's another conversation. Let's just say he's been unlucky with injuries for now, or let's just say the club have been unlucky for injuries. If it triggers you to hear it the other way. I still refuse to believe that the squad that we have, despite not being great, is as bad as it is right now. I really think like the past few games and this game in particular, we are starting to look like a really quite poorly coached shambles of a side. I think they are a tired side. I think they are an inexperienced side. Look at the central midfield today. Inexperienced. I get that. I get that you've got a lot of players playing out of position and stuff like that in this. I get that too. However, equally, we're Tottenham Hotspur. Like, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We do have some good players in there. We have, They just shouldn't be playing this badly. I had no idea what we were doing today. It's kind of back in that place. It's back in that place. Remember, like in the death throes of Conte's reign. Um, it looked like, yeah, it just looked like a mess. I don't know. It's depressing, man. Depressing. Like Everton can't score for anything. Dominic Calvert-Lewin can't score for anything. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a good player. I've got to say that up front. Beg your pardon. I do think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a good player. I think he's always he's very injury prone and everything like that. But of course, we're the first team he scores against in whatever 17 games, right? Mm. But what happens if we sack Ange Postecoglou off today? Does Ryan Mason take over for the rest of the season? Does Mile Jedinak take over for the rest of the season? What do we do? Like, actually, what do we do? I've got a really, really hoarse throat today, and it's not. I haven't been shouting at my TV. Just got quite a hoarse throat. um, that's miserable, man. I've never. I've technically seen Tottenham this bad in my lifetime, but it's too long ago for me to really properly remember it. And even when we were this bad, we had Sheringham and Klinsmann. Um, I've never seen Spurs this bad. I think maybe we had a window of being this bad under Juan de Ramos. And then we acted decisively, binned him off, brought in Harry Redknapp. But for a prolonged period of time, I've never seen us this bad. And you can't lay that blame squarely at the feet of Ange Postecoglou. I don't seek to do that. I don't want to do that, and I just don't think that's accurate. I think Daniel Levy and Enoch have worked all summer to cut down the wage bill. They've shifted a lot of players, and they've reinvested in players for the future. Players like Bergvall and Gray. They haven't invested in players for now. Bergvall and Gray are fine. They're great players, but they're too young, man. They're too young. Jack Pickbrook made a really good point on the View from the Lane this week when he was saying it's funny, kind of when you consider Gen X, there were all this at this time. You could always rely on a 35, 36 year old player that was good quality that you could sign on a free transfer. Edgar Davids, notably for Tottenham, right? Somebody like that. Oliver Bierhoff, a name we were always linked with. Pep Guardiola, another name we were always linked to back in the day. With millennial footballers now, there's no longevity in their career. They're all retiring because they're all burnt out. They're all done. I think let's look at the last example of that. We brought in a kind of a veteran millennial player, that's Ivan Perisic, who was clearly an athlete, who took really good care of himself. He couldn't keep up with the pace of the Premier League. He was good. He put in some great assists and stuff, but consistently he couldn't stay fit. He couldn't keep up with the pace of the Premier League. He just couldn't do it. So in terms of this idea of like, can we get somebody on a free? Are there even any Llorentes anymore? I don't even think there's a Llorente we can bring in to kind of hopefully just give us a few more options, give us a kind of solid, experienced head that can, that can guide a few of these players through. I mean, let's make no mistake, through a relegation battle, at least the outskirts of one, because that's where we're at now, right? We're in one of those skirmishes around the edge of it, and we might just be lucky in the respect that the teams below us are that bit worse than us that we won't really ever get properly bothered. But we can't take this for granted. We can't continue to sit here and say we'll be fine because we're Spurs. We'll be fine. We'll get Romero and Van de Ven back, and it will all be fine. That's not true. We still lost games with those two in the team, and we're just not creating chances. We're not effectively controlling games. We're not effectively creating high quality opportunities. We're just quite useless at the moment. So we can't just sit here and say, "Well, Spurs are too good to go down." I mean, let's be real. We all know that's fingers crossed, most likely to be true. But like that Thomas Skinner meme, the I don't get nervous, but starting to get a bit wee. It's getting a bit like that, isn't it? You know. Should Ange go right now? If I was pressed, if there was a gun to my head, um, probably yes, because today felt like, and I don't think I've felt this really at any point so far, but today felt like the beginning of they don't believe in this anymore. They don't believe in him anymore. They're not fighting for this anymore. We did see, as much as I say that, we did have that little blitz period right at the very end where we got the two goals and we could have gone on and got a third. But it's Everton, man. It's Everton. And I mean, like, yeah, they've beaten us today. And we're sort of sitting very close to them in the table, but it's ridiculous, man. We shouldn't be we shouldn't be conceding 3 goals to Everton. We just shouldn't be. Like, who takes over if Ange goes? It probably won't be Ryan Mason. It will be somebody said it to me. 2 seconds. Let me just have a quick look. Somebody said it to me on Twitter. It will be whatever his name is. I can't remember his name, but we've actually got another guy that's basically Ange's number 2. That's not Mile Jedinak, the senior head coach or whatever he is. You'd imagine he'd be wasn't he in charge of Aberdeen or something? One of those teams, Dundee or Aberdeen, something mad like that. It'll probably be him taking over to the end of the season. Some people have spoken about Allegri, that he's been, and yeah, I know it was Gazzetto dello Sport or whatever it's called, isn't it? Sounds like a dad ordering something on a holiday in Italy, doesn't it? I'll have a Gazzetto dello Sporto, por favor. Um, Bonjour. Unos biros matos. Choppy chop. There's talk that Allegri might come in. I can't imagine us going for a massive stylistic shift on a permanent basis. There's some talk that Allegri might be going to Saudi in summer. I would imagine the only thing we'd be talking to him about is some sort of caretaker role, kind of like Chelsea used to do with Gus Hiddink back in the day. Chelsea, when they'd be in a similar position to this, would bring in like a Gus Hiddink to see out the end of a season, and just make sure they kind of ended respectably enough. Maybe that's what we'll do with somebody like an Allegri. And I know it will be murder until the end of the season. It will be pure, unadulterated murder ball until the end of the season. But you know what? I'd rather have that over getting relegated. And I'm seeing this creeping. I'm seeing this creeping narrative now of people saying, actually, you know what? I'd be quite up for getting relegated because that'll show Enoch and blah, blah, blah. Nah, nah. The reality of Spurs getting relegated would be utterly heinous. It would be heinous, be disgusting. It would be Arsenal fan parties, Tottenham relegation parties, with Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, West Ham fans, all of it. The whole country would revel in it. Tottenham getting relegated. And you think if we're in the Championship, it'll be a laugh. You think we wouldn't be a scalp to all those bog-trotting tin pot teams in the Championship, all getting their day out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, all getting the chance to kick lumps out of us in their own grounds. Not a chance, man. Not a chance do I want to see Tottenham. Whatever you think of Enoch, whatever statement you think it makes, nah, never in my life. One of the things we have going for us, at least in the modern era, for as bad as we've been in the Premier League era at times, we've been great at other times. But for as bad as we've been, and for as much as anyone wants to dig us out and sing Tottenham get battered wherever they go, all that type of crap, we're an ever present. We're an ever present in the Premier League. And I don't want to see that change. You know? Be careful what you wish for, man. I get it. I get the point. Oh, it will show Enoch. It will show Enoch how badly they've messed up. But all it will be is absolute misery for all of us. It'd be only misery for Tottenham fans. Playing it won't be a laugh for a season. I mean, like maybe a lot of the lads who all go to every single away match probably be a laugh in that respect. Go to a few grounds that you haven't been to before. Probably definitely be a bit more needle down in the Championship with fan bases and stuff like that. But you can't be hoping for Tottenham to get relegated, man. Like you can make a point. You can make a point to Dan this season in itself, right? Whatever you think of Daniel Levy, and whatever we want to say about him not caring about this and about what's happening on the pitch, the one thing about Daniel Levy is he still will be looking at this club as an asset. And even if he's not trying his hardest to try and win the Premier League, the business model is still tethered to being in the Premier League, the coin that comes with the Premier League, the TV money, the outside interest, the brand revenue that comes from sponsorship deals and everything like that. Like, even us flirting with this where we are right now will be enough to scare Enoch and to scare Daniel Levy into knowing that they are, even if he won't admit it outwardly, Daniel Levy apparently famously always thinks he's done a grand job at Tottenham and doesn't know what anybody's complaining about. But I think in a season like this, you don't need to wish for Tottenham to get relegated to make a point to Daniel Levy. I think what we can say is that it's very clear now. It's very clear now that whatever you want to say about January being bad for business, Tottenham needs to sign at least one big player. Tottenham need to give the club needs a lift. We need a lift. We need to drop some serious money on a big player, and we can do that. We can do that. I always go on about Nico Williams, and I actually looked. He's got 1 goal and 3 assists this season. So maybe he's not the shining light that I make out that he is, or maybe it's just that he plays for a terrible team. We saw how good he was in the Euros. I wouldn't mind having him playing on the wings for us. Gyökeres, another name that's been linked the past couple of days. But it'll cost 80 million, and we can afford that. Like, you need to get out of this mindset that, like, these big amounts of money, like, Tottenham can't do that. We're not Manchester City. We can. We can. We're one of the most profitable sporting institutions on the face of the planet. Like, we tally up alongside actual NFL teams, not the biggest of the NFL teams, but still some of them. And that's something that's previously almost unheard of for anybody outside of Barcelona, Madrid, Manchester United. Even Liverpool generally don't always get up there, or haven't done historically anyway. Tottenham we need the last time we genuinely, legitimately had a lift, like a signing that we were buzzing about, partly for sentimental reasons, but also partly because he was just a quality player, was bringing Gareth Bale back on loan. Honestly, when was the last time? When was the last time this club signed a player that made us all? I'm not saying we haven't signed any good players. We've signed lots of players that are good and are promising and everything like that. I'm not saying that, but sometimes, as I always say, football is a simple game in many respects. Many of us that watch football are simple. Many of the people that play football are simple, and sometimes the big shiny thing just gives everything a lift. If Tottenham in this sort of trouble now for the next 2 weeks, imagine the way the narrative the way the narrative changes, absolutely flips. If in a week's time, all the Sky Sports news tickers, we understand Victor Gyökeres is flying in to London to secure a medical at Tottenham Hotspur. Lisbon have accepted an 80 million pound bid with potential for it to rise because of blah blah blah. Everyone is buzzing. Everyone is buzzing, and suddenly there's a buzz around the club again. Gives everybody a lift. We can't continue in this fashion, man. We can't. We just look what's happening to the team. Look what's happening to us. Like, look what is happening to this side. A few years ago, we had world-class players in every position on the pitch. We had Harry Kane and Son Heung-min up front for us. With Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, Moussa Dembele, Victor Wanyama, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Hugo Lloris in goal, Rose, Walker. Just an absolute litany of stars. Even before that, Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart, King. Even players like William Gallas that, like, you can say, oh, whatever, it was towards the end of his career, still a world-class footballer, and that was one of our lesser players. What have we got now, man? We've got promise, we've got potential. Bergvall, Gray, those lads are great. They're good players. They're really good players. They're kids, man. Like, they're kids. Like, and they put in more fight than half the other players in the senior positions out there, right? But they're kids. We're gonna fucking ruin them. Like Mikey Moore, we looked 100 times. We looked 100 times better today when Mikey Moore came on the pitch. 17 years old, right? But there's calls like he has to start every week. We'll fucking break him. We will break him. Like, and I know these people are built slightly different, but at the same time, he's a child. You don't stop growing till you're like in your mid-20s. Like, that can't be the solution. It can't be the solution. Like, if our senior players aren't good enough, like if our senior players are getting replaced by teenagers when we are cascading down the Premier League and we're replacing our senior players with teenagers. Replace the fucking senior players with other senior players first. Give those young players the grace period to grow, to get more experience in a more constructive, less pressured fashion. Like, and I get the allure and I understand it. Like, I saw the midfield today. I saw Gray starting in the midfield. I saw Gray, Bergvall, Sarr, and I thought, class. Like, I'm sort of weirdly up for that. I'm quite up for that. It took about 5-10 minutes for me to be like, they're kids, man. Like, they're good and you see brilliant things in flashes from them. They're kids. Like, I can only say that so many times. They're kids. Did you know that? Did you hear that? I don't know if you heard that or not, but they're kids. We just can't. You can't do that to them. You can't do that to them. It's negligence at every level from this football club to allow them to be in that position where that's what they're having to do. Now you've got them carrying the expectations of an entire fan base, and let's be honest, of an expectant footballing world, at least in the Premier League, is queuing up to take the piss out of Tottenham Hotspur. It's queuing up that is desperate to see our downfall. We can't continue in this way. We can't. This football club cannot continue in this way. This brinkmanship bullshit. This waiting till the end of the transfer. We've known for months. That there aren't enough players available to see this season out. We've known for months leading up to the January transfer window that we need reinforcements. We need players. Why are the deals not in place? Like, they don't just start doing the work in January. This is the thing. It's all such bollocks. It's bollocks, the excuses that get made for it. It's hard doing this in January, but you're not doing it all in January, are you? You can have preliminary discussions with other clubs and stuff before January and then get it signed off and done in January itself. You can sign players ahead of January. Like, and we know the agreement's in place for it to go through in January. There's no excuse to this shit anymore, man. Every year, almost, the tickets go up and up and up in this stadium. The expectation is put on the fan base, on regular people who are, and I'm going to say this type of stuff, and people think it's just manipulative, and people think it's just boohoo player violin, but regular people who are trying to make ends meet in one of the worst cost of living crises in this country since the fucking Victorian era, and yet the people that run the club think they can continue to put the price of tickets up, and we just have to understand that. We just have to understand the realities of football now, of top flight football. That's just the reality of it. Yet the club are so unwilling to accept the other reality of top flight football, which Nottingham Forest have aptly displayed this season. When if you spend money, if you spend good money, you're going to do better in the league. It's not just come and fucking ship off half the players, get the wage bill right down, and then sign a few players here and there that can maybe do a job. Go on, Ange, go and do that. Go and sort that out. Go on, you're good at doing this sort of thing. You understand the remit, mate. And like, I'm not letting him off the hook. Like, I'm frustrated with him, but like right now, the club is a shambles. And I'll look. What's Tom Foynes? Tom Foynes' tweet nailed it. He said, "The gall of Levy sitting in the stands, shaking his head. He's reduced the wage bill in the summer because he thought he could get away with it. He's hired a load of pathetic yes men who will take the fall for his chronic mismanagement. An absolute fucking disgrace of a chairman." Yeah, and it is that. And like, you know what? I'm tired of sitting there and saying, well, he's done a really good job. Tottenham before were a mid-table team, and what he's done is turn us into a super club, and he's built a big stadium and all that. Great, he's done all that shit. But all the stuff that we were told, it's going to be game-changing stadium. Game-changing stadium is what we were told time after fucking time when that was being built. Not only were we told to be a ring-fence transfer budget when we started building the stadium, which the fucking wasn't, because then we didn't sign anybody for 3 fucking windows, and we watched the best Tottenham team that we've had since the 1960s fall to pieces because we didn't sign any players whatsoever, right? We inherited Harry Kane. Like, Harry Kane, literally one of the best footballers of all time. We hired that and just coasted on that. Any serious team. And you're not, people don't like it. People don't like it when I say stuff. Arsenal, whatever you want to say about them, Arsenal, if they inherit a player like that, they build a fucking team around him because they understand that these opportunities only come around once in a lifetime. They build a team around a player like him and they win the lot. What did we do? Fuck all. We sat there on Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, the best strike partnership the Premier League's ever seen, and did absolutely fuck all with it. We went 3 transfer windows without signing a single player because we were told we're building a stadium. We're building a game-changing stadium. The game-changing stadium that we're now in, and we're still being told, oh no, you don't understand. You don't understand. We've got to put the ticket prices up. Oh, we need to find outside investment because otherwise, the reality of football now, there's all these teams that are so much bigger than us. Bollocks, man. Bollocks. Arsenal are out there spending £100 million on footballers. They make less money than Tottenham do. They're less profitable than this football club is. It's bollocks. It's nonsense. We've been gaslit about this bullshit for so long. And the thing is, I already know that people have the preloaded things. They're going to say I'm some sort of a moron. I don't understand how this works. I'm not a fucking economist, but I understand enough about life to know that Tottenham Hotspur make a lot of money. Tottenham Hotspur don't spend a lot of money. Like, it's just bollocks. And this whole thing, the whole project, the whole stadium, the whole hotel complex, all of it, it's all been paid for by the fans. It's all been paid for by us. It's all secured loans. It's all secured loans off the back of the fact that they know that stadium is going to be full up every week. ENIC haven't spent a penny. They haven't spent a penny on doing any of this, and they're going to make billions. If they do ever sell the club, they're going to make billions. And we're just going to sit back and we're going to sit and hope that, the 18-year-olds, the two, after we sold Harry Kane, a generational footballer, right? Oh, he won nothing. Fuck off. Like, shut up. Like, bollocks. You're a moron if you start with that stuff. You start saying, well, Harry Kane never did anything in a final or anything. He's one of the best footballers of all time. Came through our academy. We sold him, got rid of him, signed a couple of 18-year-olds. And what we're all doing is we're sat here hoping that Tottenham are going to somehow come good again. And we're just hoping that kids are going to be able to take us to the next place. And that Ange Postecoglou, because he's shown he can work on like little budgets and stuff like that, is going to be the guy that's just going to be able to just transform us into Celtic, into raw Salona again. Like, and that's it. That's literally what ENIC's strategy is. Let's spend as little as we can and hope that this pays off. And it's bollocks, man. And what we're seeing now is entirely of their making. It's entirely of their making. Entirely. And like, I don't need to sit here. I don't need to qualify my opinion to anybody that tells me, oh, please explain to me how Daniel Levy could have done X, Y, and Z differently. I can tell you exactly how Daniel Levy could have done X, Y, and Z differently. Back managers when they wanted it. Pochettino, the greatest manager we've had in the modern era, right? The summer after we've just gotten to a Champions League final, expressly wants Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes wants to come to Tottenham, but we don't do it. Even Pochettino doesn't get that. Doesn't get Bruno Fernandes. You can say whatever you want about Bruno Fernandes, but he's a very good player in my opinion. And it's what the manager wanted. It's what we wanted to bring in there at that time, but we don't do it. What do? We look around and we get Giovanni Lo Celso, and what happened there? Rest is history. You can squabble all you want about if I'm too harsh on Gio Lo Celso or anything. The fact of the matter is he did fuck all in a Tottenham shirt. Absolutely nothing. Spent £50 million on him, paid him probably half the salary that Bruno Fernandes would have wanted. And that was all right by Nick, because he might have been all right. Because he sort of showed that, he was okay in an Argentina team that was completely built to basically support Lionel Messi, and Gio Lo Celso could do that. He understood the remit of that. Like, it's just nonsense, man. It's nonsense. It's year after year after year of this stuff. And I never thought we'd be as bad as we are now. But this is the pits. Like, we are, and I get it. We've had an unprecedented injury crisis. Unprecedented. Like, it's ludicrous. There was a graphic going around on Twitter that was showing you Tottenham's injured 11, which was basically pretty much our first 11. It was basically our first team. Unprecedented injury crisis. You can't tell me we should be this bad still. It just feels rotten now. It feels rotten. And, what are we supposed to do? Just sit and cross our fingers and hope that it changes. But this is where the conversation goes to now. We can all protest. We can do this. We can do that. We can sing about Daniel Levy being bald and not caring about us and us wanting Kulusevski and all this type of thing, right? I get it. But Daniel Levy ain't going anywhere. Daniel Levy isn't going. Again, this kind of like source, trust me, bro, Twitter stuff. But apparently, Levy and those in charge of the club value the club at about 7 billion. 7 billion. Have we built an asset that's Too big to be sold? Maybe. Who's going to stump up that? He's not going to go anywhere just because we don't like it. And it's just where we find ourselves in now. But it's ludicrous, man. It's rancid now. It's rancid. Um, and this has been building to a head now for years. This has been building to a head for years. And we've been able to, since Pochettino's gone, we've been able to coast for half a decade because we still had Kane and Son. But they're not here anymore. Son's here in body, but you know, I said I wasn't going to go all shouty and angry after this one, didn't I? But I sort of just did then. I had a bit of an arse flat, but is what it is. We just lost fucking. We just couldn't ship 3 goals to Everton, man. Like, you know, it's just miserable. I don't. I'll do the players today, but I don't. I don't even really want to, because I just don't really see. Oh, we'll see. Let's do the players. Um, so Kinski, I thought he was good. Yep, he shipped 3 goals, but there was a flurry of Everton early opportunities that he managed to keep batting away. He did a great job in that first half. The scoreline could have been even worse for us. You know, he's had 90 minutes of Rio Ferdinand and Ali McCoist and the like all digging him out on TNT the other night, which is just dumb. It was just disgrace. That TNT commentary the other night in the Arsenal game was it's just disgusting. I'm getting like this is the thing. I'm getting so bored. I watched a lot of it today, but it fell behind. I watched a lot of it today on not Sky Sports, and it was nice just not to have the sort of the gleeful that you get from it, like the broadcasters here, like the gleeful kind of pulling apart of Tottenham, and just the unfair nature of our characterization by so many of the commentariat, as it were. You know, um, I'm just bored of it. I'm bored of hearing Carragher, Neville, Rio Ferdinand, Ali McCoist, all of them just sit and just spout a load of crap about us, and just I just don't want to listen to it. Um, Porro, non-existent, tired. You know, run into the ground. Drag us in. I mean, he's awful, isn't he? He's awful. Um, what more is there to say about him? I know he's played through this period. He's been ill. He's tired. It's not suited to him. All those sorts of things. Fair enough. I get all of that, but he's terrible. Um, Ben Davis. It's Ben Davis. It's fine, but he's probably tired, half fit, old anyway. Um, Playing out of position. Jed Spence, good. Still, I thought today. It's very good, at least in the final third, in an attacking sense. He gives Tottenham something. One of the few bright lights in this sort of miserable season and this period. And again, it kind of inversely, it winds me up. It irritates me that it's taken so long for us to incorporate him into this, but whatever. We are now, so fine. Um, Gray, Sarr, Bergvall. I mean, Gray's a very good player. Like, Gray's a delightful player. a lot today was a lot for him, right? But he's brilliant. Bergvall, he loves a yellow card, doesn't he, the lads? He sort of was a bit worried he was starting to lose his head a little bit, but you know, he works his socks off. And he's a good player, but I still think we should have a more senior player doing that, and he should be coming in and getting cameos here and there, right? But whatever. Pape Matar, awful performance today. I love Sarr, but he was awful today, and he's been bad for a few weeks now, hasn't he? He's whether he's tired or demoralised, or maybe a bit of both. Just not quite at it. Not quite at it. Kulusevski, in that second half, it felt like he was one of the only players that was capable of making a difference towards the end. He is a warrior. He's a fighter. I know he's been a little bit patchy lately in his form, but I still think in moments like that, last 20 minutes or so, he's still got that ability in him, that capacity to just suddenly say, right, fuck this, and step up a bit, and start playing like a serious player. Unlike James Maddison, who just sell him. Son Heung-min, it's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking seeing Sonny in the sort of dire straits that he's in right now. That was a terrible miss from him. Terrible miss in that first half. Really bad. And then just didn't really offer much else in this game for us. Sad. Lovely finish from Richarlison when he came on. Wonderful ball from Mikey Moore as well. Wonderful ball from Mikey Moore. Richarlison did go down in a lot of pain after he scored. So no doubt that means he'll be out for 2 months after this point. But at least, like we've kind of gotten. I don't want to say we've gotten lucky, but we've at least been fortunate. Means exactly the same thing, Jack. That Richarlison is coming back as we've lost Solanke. Losing Solanke's just vile, isn't it, right now? But at least we've got Richarlison back. Scored wonderful finish today. Read the pass perfectly. Well done. Mikey Moore just looked like one of our best players when he came on, didn't he? He's obviously a generational talent that people keep saying. But it's worrying when you have to fall back on a 17-year-old. Like, it just is. It's quite worrying. Let's see some of the comments I've had in today. Llama All Sports says, mate, this is a right sickener. It's over and we have to start again. Whale X says, can we all write against Levy now? I should probably say at this point, I'm not condoning or calling for that. I'm just reading out the comments that are being sent in by somebody. But writing is bad. It's not good. Exercise your right to protest. Peaceful protest. Stop buying merchandise. Stop buying tickets to games. You can still meet up with friends and watch football matches. Go to the pub or to somebody's house. Do it in that way. Deprive the club of money. That's where you can really hurt them. Ben Mathias says, Son is finito. There we go. Seven Seal says it was 3-2. Maybe I said it was 3-1 at some point, but either way, it's 3-2, mate. I don't know if that's supposed to be a gotcha or something. I don't know. Kiryu76 says, Those players that clueless out there, no idea of what they're meant to be doing. He's ruining Archie and Bergvall, playing players into the ground. He has to go. The players have given up on him. Um, yeah. Wilson T, he's gone. End of. We need a plan ASAP. James Nicholson, Son and Madison are showing less fight and leadership than Bergvall and Moore are. I ditched a pair of them for the foreseeable future. Kurt Butler, us losing was so predictable with Moyes being back, and the stat that DCL hadn't scored forever, but it's the manner of the L that fucks everyone off. We had no fight. We looked clueless. Stephen King said, I left a comment on your episode that you recorded this week. I recorded a pod this week with Jack Gallagher, football writer, friend of the show. He's not a Spurs fan. And I wanted to speak to Jack. I wanted to basically get somebody from the outside. Jack's actually, in the time I've known him, he's sort of one of those people that he takes a piss out of Spurs a little bit, but he's not somebody that really revels in it. He was very up on Ange when we signed him. I thought it'd be good. So I got him on to sort of see. I thought he might be a bit like, nah, you'll be all right. It's a rough patch, but you'll be okay. But he was actually like, no, I think you lot stink. I think you're really bad. I think you're really poorly managed at a board level and a pitch level. And yeah, you're not looking good at all. Listen to it. It's it's interesting. See what you think. But Stephen said in the comments that he thought Jack was being overly harsh, but he's actually saying now, no, I don't agree anymore. Today has showed quite how right Jack was, sadly. Jamie Stanbury said, I wanted it to work with Ange, but I think that'll be it. However, I want Levy out. And the concern is that they'll want more money than anyone else is willing to pay. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Demenstre says, Everton have improved their Premier League goals scored by 20% today. That's hideous, isn't it? Seven Seals, again for some balance. Here you go. Everton, new manager at home, desperate for a win and played well for them. Did you expect us to win today with that side? Didn't expect us to win, but I didn't expect us to ship 3 goals. Like, again, mate, it's not some gotcha. Like this kind of like this way of approaching these things, right? You don't want to see Tottenham lose games. Tottenham are losing almost every single game. And yet there's so many people here that keep trying to make it out that you're somehow an idiot for not liking what Spurs are doing right now. It's just ridiculous, man. It's like, it's so mad. It's so mad the way people address this stuff. Like, you come on after a game that Spurs have lost to one of the worst sides in the league. And I'm not even sitting here ranting and raving saying Ange is useless, he's clueless, he's out of his depth. I haven't done any of that stuff, right? And you still get spoken to like you're some idiot for it. Like, did you really expect this? No, what did you Seven Seals really expect going into this season that Tottenham would be sitting here in 16th place now? Do you think that's good? Like, do you think that's the correct place for Tottenham Hotspur to be in? Like, bore off, man. Like, I'm not triggered. You're triggered. Zeros and ones says Harold Bishop returns. I'm not sure if he means me or or Ange Postecoglou at this point. Day Kim says the biggest problem was the way Ange set us up today. Playing Son at 9 versus Everton's 3 centre backs and playing that odd back 3 and 3 in midfield versus their 3 cost us the game. Hotspur Sam says suicidal tactics. Bricked Up says, what about that guy leading Napoli at the moment? Don't know who you're talking about. Hotspur Sam says, I don't think we were even this poor back in our relegation season. Oh, great. Llama All Sports says it's Levy's negligence. Poch told the world and we could see we needed a rebuild. Believe he wanted to squeeze every ounce of juice out of the broken squad by bringing in Mourinho. Yep. Oh, I don't know, man. It's just hard to know what else to say about this, isn't it? Like the way it's all going. I like podcasts. It's just said I like the pod, and yeah, contributed. So thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. It's all right. Seven Seals said, "Sorry, I didn't mean it like that." That's all right. I'm just getting triggered, mate. I apologise as well for getting all gnarly. I'm just tetchy. Do you know what I mean? I'm just tetchy. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's call it there. Let's call it time. Thanks very much for joining in today, for listening, watching. I've done some fun stuff on Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpods. That'll take your mind off of football a bit. If not, please please leave a rating, please leave a review, all that type of thing. Cheers. Yeah, that's a bit miserable, isn't it? Come on, you Spurs.